All right then. Well, welcome everyone to the second AMA for Grape Finance. As you all know, and I think it will be said by Zoom itself, this video is being recorded, and as such, we're going to move forward because everyone who's not here will be able to just listen to the recording. My name is Nicky. You all know me as Vionda because that's what I name myself in the community. And I'm here with LB. Please introduce yourself, LB.
Hey, thanks, Nikki, for hosting the AMAs and organizing the agenda and all that. It's really helps me keep it structured and answer any questions that everybody has in the project. So I'm just the main dev of Grape Finance, and yeah, excited. It's been a great week. I think we've grown really well this week. I think the TVLs have been consistently growing a little bit every day, which is what you want, really. You don't want a crazy, pump, which then generally leads to a big fall. If you rise quickly, you're going to fall quickly. Generally, it's the general idea, right? But if you go slow and sustainable, it's better for the protocol long term as well. And I think that's happened this week. Secured some, worked on some good partnerships. A lot of things coming in the next couple of weeks as well. Just launched a raffle page. This I think was that yesterday. I just did that. Get lost in the days now. Every day is like a Monday, really.
You also moved the docs to the bottom of the page. I actually have to look for them.
I'm gonna work on that because on a 1920 by 1080 page, normal web page size or screen size, it's too crammed on the nav bar. So I don't know, move Beefy or Yield Wolf into like a one page, an auto compounder page or something like that, or I don't know, arrange things a little bit, just because I want the docs up the top, but it's a bit too crammed. So I put them if you need them, they're in the footer next to the Twitter, and also on the homepage where it says please join our Telegram or Discord and read our docs and disclaimer. There's a link right there as well. But yeah, I think because the docs are important and something that we're updating regularly as well. So I will fix that very soon.
I love also how you're saying I'm just the main dev. It's not a small thing, man.
Well, anyway. We have it. It's good that we actually have a bit of a team now, and so it's we can really focus now going forward on not just me doing everything like in the beginning, which is just incredibly stupid. Now I can focus on development, and the team can focus on their roles, and we can actually achieve what we want to achieve.
Awesome. So I'm going to move on towards the questions now. They're going to be three main categories. First, we'll start with the newbie questions and general concerns about how things are going, so that we can tackle that first. And then onwards, we'll go to general questions about our way of doing things. And then there will be last part, that's questions about where we're going and suggestions about that. So actually we'll be past, present, future. We'll move on that way. And then afterwards, we still have time. I'll just take some questions from the chat, or we'll just close.
Yeah, sounds good.
Right. So the first question is by Xi. This is the best way I can pronounce it. It says, hello guys. My question is if you could provide a scenario that leads Grape to fall under the one-to-one peg of MIM. To me, it is not clear how we can fall below the peg of a stablecoin.
Yeah, well, in this protocol, the way it works is the Grape token is not collateralized like MIM is. It's it's algorithmic. The protocol is algorithmic, which means that the value of grape fluctuates based on the supply of grape. So above $1 or above 1 mim, the protocol mints more grape at a set percentage every 6 hours. And the idea is that more grape is emitted every 6 hours when above the peg of 1 mim, to then inflate the supply and lower the value to the value of 1 mim. And so the protocol then is obviously based on the supply and demand. It's based on the selling and the buying of grape. So we're not pegged to mim in a way that we're collateralized by mim. We're pegged to mim in a algorithmic way. So we will fluctuate in value above and below mim, depending on the supply, depending on the demand for the coin, depending on a bunch of variables, really. But the main idea is that it's not collateralized, so it has to fluctuate in value because it's based on supply and demand.
Yeah.
But the idea is that below peg, the protocol stops minting more grape and allows the purchasing of bonds or trading in of grape for bonds, which then reduces the supply of grape. And the idea is that reducing the supply will raise the price of grape to the peg of mim again. So that's how it works. It's algorithmic, and it's based on the supply and demand and the community's actions. So that's why it's not a direct one-to-one peg all the time.
All right. So what you're saying is that if the grape price is high, the protocol will just print more of it. And if the grape price is low, the protocol will print less of it, or even none at all if it's under peg. And that will give a natural flow of buying pressure and selling pressure, which will kind of keep it to peg. Right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a simple solution to maintaining a peg around this value, but obviously because it's simple, it's not collateralized, it's not going to be exactly 1 mim all the time.
All right. Well, thank you. I think that answers that question perfectly. And then we'll move on towards Ink Shooter 01. And they say, I was wondering, how does the lower peg affect grape price on the short term? It feels like it has to fall back naturally. So I'm a bit nervous about buying grape. I actually put all into the wine min pool because of that. And I thought because this is strategy, maybe I should answer it. What do you think?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So yes, it does likely fall towards back naturally because of the thing we just answered, or LB just answered. And therefore, we do have strategies to protect our investments, our investors, I mean. And we actually do recommend to start with either wine min or wine purely, and then just use the grape rewards to restake that. So actually, Ink Shooter 01, you're absolutely correct. It is a bit scary to enter with grape min, and we therefore recommend to not do that. That's not to say that you shouldn't hold grape min. It's still a beautiful thing to stake. It's just it does have a bit of a danger of impermanent loss if grape does fall towards back.
Yeah, I mean that's right. Because I mean the whole point of the protocol is to maintain a peg or be around peg, and so as the longer we're above peg, it's just going to continue to print more grape. So eventually, that grape, the demand for grape, I mean, it has to outweigh the incoming inflation, and so the value of it will drop towards peg. When we do reach closer to peg, that's probably the perfect time to enter if you are entering straight away, I mean, entering for the first time or have spare MIM available, entering at that period then, because that's where the peg coin and MIM coin are similar in value, so you'll limit your impermanent loss. And also another point is that you get, even if you go into the MIM Grape LP, the daily returns that you get, especially compounded, do give you high returns compounded over, say, over a month. You do compounding, you can, I think it's what's compounded 2% a day or 3% a day over a month. I have to look at a compound calculator, but it's quite high. It's like 80% or something in 1 month that you get.
So far, the way the price is going, actually the impermanent loss is outweighed by the rewards.
Yeah. So that's the idea as well. I mean, it is high risk, but obviously you're getting 3 up to maybe 4% a day. And if you're getting those rewards don't come without a risk in any investment or any industry, so to say.
Yeah. So I've got to speed it up a bit because we still have a buttload of questions. Yeah. We're still in the first category. Sergo also has a new question. Like Sergo, actually a good question, I think. He says, guys, I have a question. What is the utility for token packed to stable? Because, for example, as for tokens packed to Phantom and other layer 1 natives, it is stayed in Tomb Dogs. It is to provide liquidity, while most Phantom can be staked. But what about a pack to stable?
Yeah, well, it's a similar idea, really. We're basically increasing the liquidity of MIM without having to provide collateral to create that MIM. So it's this similar idea in terms of pegging to an L1, that you're increasing the liquidity of that token, but we're increasing the liquidity of a stable coin instead, which then can be used for everything a stable coin can, which is payments, lending and borrowing, anything else really. But we're not doing it by having to lock up collateral to do it. And that's the main benefit. But the drawback from that, obviously, is that we're not, we're a peg coin, so we're variable in value.
All right. Thank you. Then there's John Mental, and he asks, so isn't a liquidity pool with one stable more exposed to impermanent loss than 2 correlated tokens?
Well, yes, in theory. I mean, the peg token pool is always correlated no matter what, because that's the peg token pool. For instance, the grape and the wine, I mean the grape and the MIM LP is correlated because they are the peg coins. But for instance, in the shares, the pegging pairing with a MIM, a stable, instead of an L1 coin means that we're not subject to the L1's coin's volatility. So, I mean, the thing with these protocols is that they're pretty niche in that the general market, say Phantom or AVAX, they may be correlated to those share tokens, but not really. There is very often the case where the share token increases in value, but the L1 token it's paired with decreases in value, which then means that you are subject to more impermanent loss than if the pairing was with a stable coin, because the stable coin is staying the same value and the pairing coin is going up or down and not having to deal with the drawdown of the L1 coin. So there's drawbacks to it and there's positives as well. In some cases, there'll be more impermanent loss In some cases, there'll be less, and we'll also be less subject to general market drawdowns, because I think last week AVAX went down about 30-40%, and we weren't subject to having to deal with that loss as well. So that's a benefit to having pairing with a stable coin instead of L1.
Yeah, essentially, what we have is that it's just our community, right? That's dictating the price. Like it doesn't matter what AVAX does actually, or what Bitcoin does, or whatever. It's just our community. If our community buys, then the price goes up. If our community sells, then the price goes down. And that's essentially what you're saying, right?
Yeah, I'm saying that this often is the case in this extremely niche area, that the share token is not correlated to the L1 token or the pairing at all, really.
Yeah.
You'll have days where AVAX increases in price, but the share of some protocol decreases. And then you'll suffer more impermanent loss than if you were paired with a stable in that instance.
Right. Thank you. Then we'll move on towards Kigensi 7. And he says, well, he asked a question and then he edits that he has already found it. He says, does it outline in the docs that the daily percentage of staking rewards, what the daily percentage of staking rewards for wine are, and what does impact this value? And then he says, well, I actually found it in the docs, but maybe still good to go over. So maybe you have a sentence, one or two, to just explain that quickly.
Yep. Well, the wine rewards you're talking about the wine rewards in the vineyard are a set number, are released every single day, and that cannot change. That's hard written in the contract. At the moment, that's about 110 wine released every day to all the stakers in the pool, in the vineyard, and that's allocated by certain weightings depending on that pool, on the pools. And the APRs, I guess, are determined by the TVLs of the pool, the value of the wine token, and the value of the grape token as well, essentially. But more for the vineyard, it's more determined by the wine price and the TVL of that pool. So the APR will fluctuate.
Yeah, thank you. Well, there's the last one in this category, the new questions and general concerns, and that's by BIM. And they said, I guess the question has already been asked, but what about the price at the end of January? That's scary. And could that happen again anytime soon? And now for those people who are listening that weren't aware what the end of January was, that was when our wine price fell from a top of 1,300 to 220, a bottom of 220. So that's an 83 downfall in 3 days. And yeah, I can imagine that's scary. So this question is, that's scary. Could that happen again anytime soon?
Well, I'd hope not. And I'm going to do everything that I can do to prevent that. But obviously, I can't control the price. But that sort of volatility is extremely common in this sort of space of algorithmic protocols. That's because we launched maybe a week or two before that, and during the first 2-3 weeks after launch, the share price and the peg price are extremely volatile, and that's just a common thing in these protocols because the supply is extremely low, the liquidity is generally low as well. And so, a sell of even $50,000 would have a drastic increase or decrease a drastic impact on the price. So, I mean, the idea in general is that crypto is extremely volatile anyway, and can drop, even Bitcoin drops 80% every 4 years. And that's the big one. So it's not impossible, but obviously we're going to build everything out. We're going to bring good use case to wine and grape, and that will hopefully increase the demand and keep a stable price is what we want.
Yeah, and I'll add to that because yeah, you said even a sell of 50K will have a drastic impact. We actually had that yesterday, where I saw a sell of 49K actually happening, which drove
Yeah.
the price about I think $120. It put it downwards $120 just at once. This obviously this impact will be lessened as we grow, because yeah, well, 50K is now a bit of a lot for our protocol, but if you look at bigger protocols, then 50K might be nothing, or it has a very low impact. So it does that means that as we grow, we will stabilize, and therefore, if you're scared about this volatility, we always say to just be careful and dollar cost average in, so it's not to be over invested, because we wouldn't want that upon our investors. All right, then we'll move on towards the general questions about our way of doing things, and we've got two of those. No, three of those. And firstly, there's Jason. He starts off with a quote. So I'll move down. I've got people working right outside my window at the moment. Sorry about that. He starts with a quote. He says, with our protocol, we hope to bolster MIM's liquidity on Avalanche, offer a pegged MIM substitute for lending and collateralization, and offer this cross-chain as well, essentially becoming our own stablecoin. Pegging to MIM instead of AVAX makes cross-chain activities and collateralization more flexible, easier to manage, and has a wider potential audience than a layer one specific peg, as we can effectively act as a stablecoin. And then he asks, may I ask why bolstering MIM's liquidity is important, given the fact that MIM has unlimited supply? Wouldn't Grape still have viability as a stablecoin if it was pegged to native AVAX? And I'm going to mute my mic here for this noise. I'm sorry, did I mute you as well?
Oh yeah, no, I think that was me by accident. Sorry.
All right.
All right. Yeah. Well, I mean, if we were pegged to AVAX, I mean, we couldn't really act as a stable coin, could we? Because AVAX is a variable coin, and it's deflationary, and it varies in price. So we couldn't really act as a stable coin if we were pegged to AVAX. You could act as a collateral. You could use it as collateral to create a stable coin, I guess. And with MIM, technically has an unlimited supply, but not really, because you need to actually allocate collateral to be able to create that supply. You can't just create it out of thin air, really. So bolstering MIM's liquidity without having to lock in collateral is kind of what we're doing here. And that's kind of a benefit to not having to lock in any collateral, is that you can use that collateral elsewhere. And then we can increase the utility of MIM without having to lock in the collateral, and Grape can be used as a stable coin, essentially.
All right, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit distracted by the noise outside. Kigansi7 has another question, and this one falls into this category. And he says, my question is, can the devs outline the strengths and weaknesses of this project? And what are they actively planning to mitigate weaknesses and increase strengths? Thank you.
Yeah, well, I think that a general weakness of these protocols in general is that they rely heavily on people's actions to be on the same page, to be unified. And obviously, obviously that's difficult to get everybody on the same page at all times. Everybody has different agendas, and may not be in the same, may not have the same goals as everybody else. So that's kind of a weakness of this protocol, is that the peg, maintaining the peg, the term is relies heavily on the community to stick to the strategies. And that's why we have focused heavily on education and implementing the strategy guide, implementing the strategy flowcharts, depending on the TWAP. That's added to all the pool pages so that you can see the current strategy based on the TWAP, and there's a strategy page directly on the website for the current TWAP as well. And we'll be bringing out some educational videos to help guide everybody through the general idea of how to use the platform and what's it about and how it works and how we can all work together. But other strengths, I guess, is that we have a good team. We're going to be adding a lot of utility to Grape and Wine as well, which is part of the problem with these protocols, because generally the idea is that the only use case to the peg token is to kind of just sell it as rewards. But that obviously means that eventually, if everybody just keeps selling it, it's going to go to zero. So we need to add some sort of utility, some sort of use case to create demand for Grape and Wine, so that the inflation of it is not outweighed by the demand, and it can keep a stable value. So that's why we'll be adding some lending and borrowing to the platform. And we're also going to look into adding a bonding system to build a bit of a treasury behind the protocol to then support the peg as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. I think it was very clear. We'll have the last question in this category, and that's by Toasty. And they say, it seems like the Beefy and Yearn partnerships are more for exposure rather than ideal spots for us strategy-wise as investors. In the darks, it advises against other compounders if holding more than $300 because of the impact on the price. I'm just curious to learn more about these partnerships and the thought process here. And I was thinking maybe I could ask part of it, answer part of this. Well, firstly, we move forward, and it could be so that an outlined strategy needs an update at some point. First of all, the cutoff point of about $300, that was viable at some point. But right now we have been growing, and I think we're twice as big as the moment where that was brought out. So you might easily double that. And there's a second thing. At the moment that this was brought out, or actually stated, there was only one way of auto compounding, and that was versions where wine was sold. So you had the grape MIM auto compound, you had the wine MIM auto compound, and the grape wine auto compound. But all of those were rewarded wine, and essentially for the auto compounder, it sold wine all the time. But now we also have a single stake wine auto compounder, which actually sells grape and buys wine. So it balances out a little bit. And because of that, there can definitely be a strategy where you buy both into a single stake wine auto compound and also into one of the other auto compounders to kind of balance out the selling pressure and buying pressure of wine. And we are going to give a strategy about that. But the thing is that the entry ratio, it changes with the reward ratio, and as such we cannot just say like 55% wine and 45% of the other thing. It has to be changed all the time, so we kind of need to put that in the user interface or do something else with it. And there's been talks about maybe creating a zapper function that makes that easy for people. But it's just an ongoing process, and at the moment the manual way is just the easiest for the protocol, but that's not the only way. And maybe you would like to add on that, LB.
Yeah, well, I think that's perfect, and the idea that we can balance out the sell pressure of the auto compounders using the other auto compounder through the vineyard auto compounders and then the winery auto compounder to balance it out is really cool. And also as well, the idea in general is that auto compounders, I think, are a net good anyway, because they do add sell pressure, but they do also increase the overall liquidity of the pool, because they are adding MIM directly into the pool as well. And that's, I think, especially over this last week, I think we started with, I think maybe 150 in beefy vaults, and now we're sitting at over 600 just in the last week. That's grown quite a bit, and so that's obviously helping a lot to increase the TVL, increase the liquidity of the pool, increase the MIM in the pool as well, which then increases the overall stability of the platform. So that's a good thing with auto compounders, so to say.
All right, thank you. Then we'll move on towards the last category, which is questions about where we are going and suggestions about that. I actually love this category best. So we're reading that because that means where are we going, right? What's the alpha? We'll start with Candle Server. They've got two questions. The first one is, do we have any backstops for going under peg besides community banding together? Maybe implement a treasury like 3Share once this protocol is more developed.
Yeah, so that's I mentioned before, that's kind of like one of the weaknesses of this protocol, is that it's relies heavily on the people involved in the community, essentially. And while that can work really well with the good education and strategy guides, there are obviously going to be people that don't want to follow that plan anyway. So we need to have some other backup plans. So that's, I mentioned we've looked into the bonding of the 3-ohm mechanism, and we will be implementing some sort of bonding feature. I don't know if we can do it as a 3-ohm system, because I cannot mint any Grape, and the treasury can't be modified to mint any Grape without having to create a new treasury. But this is a bonding feature is definitely something that we're looking into to build the treasury. In any case, we're still going to be adding use case to Grape and Wine, so that you can increase the demand of it and keep it above peg using demand. And the DAO fund as well is also being used as an investment vehicle to invest in other protocols to generate some revenue that then can be used to support the peg if need be as well.
Awesome. So what you're saying mostly is, of course, your contracts are renounced, so you cannot change the way everything is working. But you are looking, or we are looking, actually into new ways to actually make this happen anyway, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's a important feature, I think, having some sort of treasury backing for the protocol.
Yeah. Well, it's also a good thing that the contracts are announced and that you cannot mint any Grape, because that's very safe.
It's a good security feature.
Yeah. All right. They also have a second question, which actually has 2 upvotes. It's the only one that has upvotes. Will it be possible in the future for us to borrow against our staked wine while printing Grape? And this is something I would definitely love myself.
This is cool. Yeah, I like this. I definitely like to implement that, and maybe a similar idea for the LPs, where you can borrow against your LPs that still earn rewards, or in a way where you put in the LPs and they are then in the contract moved into the pools to then earn rewards and pay back the loan without you having to do anything. Similar to I think Alchemix does something like that, where they you take out a loan and then they use that your collateral as an investment to then generate yield, which then pays back that loan without you having to do anything. And I think that was already on the roadmap, and that's something that we want to do, because it eliminates the hassle of having to pay back a loan. You don't have to think about it, and it makes it safer as well for you. So I think that's something we'll definitely be adding.
So what you're essentially saying is that it does get some rewards, and those rewards are then used to actually make your loan more safe, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. That's really awesome. Then we've got another question from Jason, but in a different category. And his question is, for community educational efforts, are there any plans to start a Medium account?
Oh yeah. I think Dave has created one, and we've got some plans to is written out some articles we can write, some general ideas, so that we'll be getting onto that. I guess that's part of the educational efforts that we're going to be doing anyway, is to do some long form articles on Medium, and we've already got the YouTube, so we'll be adding some on YouTube as well, and then that will then go into our docs as well. So education is a big thing that we'll be focusing on.
Yeah, awesome. And there will be multiple people on the team writing. I'll probably write some as well.
Yeah.
So on to the next question. We've got 3 left, so I think we're well on time. That's good. We've got a question from Saint Exo Hapes. They say, will Grape be running more boosts on Beefy Finance? Because I definitely feel it's an effective place to attract new investors.
Yeah, I think that the Beefy boost was actually really good. We've got a lot of people. I think we're actually one of the only seniorage protocols on AVAX on Beefy. So that's kind of, I guess a lot of people looked at the APY and they're like, what do you mean 3% daily, you know? So they piqued their interest, and we've got a lot of new Beefy people in the Discord, which is really nice. So I don't know if we can, because the Beefy is obviously a platform that you can't just list on. They have to list you, and there's an approval process, and they don't just list everyone. So I'm not sure if we can, just say, boost our vaults. But I'm, the DAO has allocations for exactly this thing, for promotions, for boosting vaults, for boosting APYs here and there with wine rewards. So we may as well get in touch again and see if we can do it. I don't know if they do that, but it wouldn't hurt asking.
Yeah, most definitely. And I also notice in the space that it is definitely being recognized. It's recognized by the people. Like, it's not easy to be listed on Beefy, and people keep saying that all over, and that is actually true, which is a very, very beautiful thing for us, that we are the one and only seniorage protocol on that. I love that. Absolutely perfect. Right. Then there's Graziano Garcia. And they say, do you have any plans on getting listed on other platforms like sushi.com and such? And also then moves on by saying, do you have any plans on getting on other chains? Like Phantom is another good fast and low fee platform that is growing as well.
Yeah, at the moment we're on Trader Joe that's where our pools are located. There's also Pangolin, and I really like Sushi. I use it all the time because they're on pretty much every chain, so that helps. But the issue is that we'd have to migrate the pools, or we'd have to create new pools on Sushi and then incentivize those somehow. And that would mean that we'd have to dilute the rewards in the vineyard if we were going to create new pools, but then keep the pools on Trader Joe. So if they have some sort of migration feature where people that already have the LP in Trader Joe don't have to they literally just have to click one button, then that would be something we can do, especially if we can get some sort of boosted vault or something like that on Sushi or Pangolin or something like that. But as it stands now, it would be too much of a pain for people, especially people that are in order compounders, to have to withdraw, remove the liquidity, and then we'd have to create a new pool and then have to go and add to that pool on another website. So it's just too much for people to do without there being a good incentive for it. So we need to work that out. But, I'm always looking for things that we can do like that, which may bring something unique or have a cool thing for the community, maybe like a boost or, something like that. So it's something we keep watch on, but I also don't want to create hassle for the LPs that already exist. So we've got to balance that out. And we are planning to get on other chains, especially when we become more established, especially when we build out lending and borrowing and can then have a stable footing here on AVAX. I think that's pretty important first for us to really cement ourselves on AVAX and not move over to another chain really quick, because then we spread ourselves too thin and then we have to manage 2 different platforms on 2 different chains. And if you do that too quick, it can hurt you more than it can help you. So we really want to make sure that we're solid on AVAX first. We've only been around for, I think, less than a month. It feels like a long time, but it's been less than a month. Actually, if we can look at the epoch, we're epoch 95, so that's pretty good effort so far. Yeah, so I mean, Phantom is a chain that I really like as well. It's a little bit crowded for seniorage protocols, but it's still a top chain that I use often. And we'd definitely be going cross chain, but we'll have to cement ourselves here on AVAX first before we do that.
Yeah, most definitely. I also agree myself. I have seen with another seniorage protocol on Kronos, they migrated from, I think, Ducky Exchange to Meerkat Finance, and that actually hurt that TVL a lot. So it's definitely something we need to be doing carefully, and it will be good, but it will need planning and it will need a lot of, community support. Otherwise, it won't work. And then there's the last question that was actually planned by Bobby One. It's a bit of a long one. Can the team reach out to Chicken Farm NFT project? I think we would complement each other huge and create the largest collab and model on AVAX. And then I asked him to actually elaborate a little bit because I had no idea what he was talking about. And then he says, well, it's essentially an NFT staking protocol. The team is an egg-laying chicken farm, and the NFTs are chickens with various attributes, from which most important is the weight, as that determines the egg-laying power of a chicken NFT. And then you've got other things like feed, where you can feed your chicken, and then the egg you can actually sell. So he was asking, would we be interested in partnering with them?
Yeah, I saw this and then I had a look at Chicken Farm. And it's pretty cool little fun thing, NFT staking thing, almost a game really. Pretty cool. I like it. And one of the things that we focus on is partnering with other projects in the space, especially on AVAX, either brand new projects that we can put on our launchpad, or projects that already exist that we can partner with, maybe do some promotions with, cross promote the communities, and then maybe the goal is to offer something unique for both of our communities, like what we did with Asgard, where they can stake their WAMP and we can bond the wine rewards, so it kind of loops in, you increase your APRs. So we want to do stuff like that, where it brings something unique to both the communities and brings the communities together. So I'm going to look into the Chicken Farm project a bit more and maybe reach out. Maybe we'll see what we can do. We'll see if we can work together closer. If not, we also always open to doing like cross promotions and things like that. Do like a wine giveaway or something like that, and we can give away an NFT for our community or something like that. So that's as a bare minimum thing. But if there's some way that we can really do something cool, where some sort of staking pool or some sort of looping rewards or something that can boost APRs that's something that we want to focus on as well. So, yeah.
Awesome. And that brings us to the end of the planned questions. And so far, there has been a question by Sam21. I'm going to ask to unmute you, Sam, so that you're on and that you can ask your question yourself. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing?
Hey.
Really thanks for the AMA and really thank you for the project that you guys have created.
Thanks for listening and thanks for the support.
Yeah, and really love the community and the project, and I'm glad to be early for once.
Yeah, well, the community is, I think, one of the strengths that we have here.
Absolutely,
Solid
absolutely.
community. Everybody's always like on the same page, and I think that will help. It's like one of the
Yes,
cornerstones of the project.
absolutely. Okay, so my question is, like Tom Finance,
Yeah.
will our APR go below 1% a day?
Well, it's hard to say, right? I mean, Toon Finance has what they had like $1 billion, $800 million in it. So
Yeah.
if you have that sort of TVL, your APRs are going to be pretty low.
Yeah.
But you know, our TVL is, you know, say what it's like 5 mil, 5.5 mil,
Yeah.
and the APRs have been, you know, through the last week, the APRs have been around about 5 to 3%.
Yes.
And we've doubled the TVL. So that's pretty
Absolutely.
decent. And that will come with the APR is obviously determined by the wine price in the vineyard. So if we do what we're going to do and actually make good use case to wine as well, other than just, you know, selling it or staking it for grape, we can, you know, add more value to wine, which then boosts the APRs of the vineyard because the value of the wine is higher. So that's the idea, really.
Yeah.
And you know,
I mean, it's 0.5% per day is still good, right? I mean, there are projects that
yeah.
offer 3% a day, 4%, 7% a day. I've seen projects that offer 10% a day, and then they last for 1 month or 2 months max, and then they are out. They drain their contract. So it's better to have low APRs and high sustainability.
No, that's true. I agree with that as well. That's the thing, right? It's if you have super high APRs, it's just not sustainable because that's sort of, if you're getting those returns, people are going to be selling a lot of those returns because they're incredible, and that will, you know, drastically lower the price, which will then lower the APR. So that's kind of the problem with, you know, that's why every time a new fork launches, they have super high APRs, you know, 50, 100% even daily.
Yes.
But that doesn't last long, obviously, because it can't.
Absolutely. Yes. No way they're going to last for a year or two.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, guys, thank you so much, and thanks for the project, and really love the community and
thanks for your
development of
support.
the bot. And thank you.
You're very welcome, man. You're very
Thank
welcome,
you.
Because we're very happy with our community members, especially if I just look at the chat, I usually am with a smile on my face because it's just lovely. People are being really nice to each other and are really helping each other, and that is exactly the way it should be, because this is a very new space and a lot of people are still learning. And yeah, let's just take care of each other a little bit. Anyway, that's it. There have been no more extra questions forthcoming, which means we're going. Oh, wait. Andreas has a question. Let me look for them. All right, then, Andreas, I'm going to ask you to unmute, and you can ask the actual last question of this AMA, because then I am going to close it down. There you go. I'm sorry, I can't hear you yet. Your mic is off, but I don't hear anything. Your mic's on, I mean. Andreas, maybe you can type your question. I can read it because I can't hear anything. By the way, there's Neville in the meantime saying, sorry, I'm late. How's the demand for grape going to be generated? Maybe we can.
Yeah, well, that's the part of the roadmap is to give use cases for wine. I mean, with just fun little things now is the raffle. You know, you can give away your raffle in order to possibly win a wine, and then that grape is burned. That's just a initial thing. But you know, we'll be bringing out some NFTs as well, which you can pay for in wine and grape. That's also another fun thing. But the main thing that we're going to be doing is a lending and borrowing platform where you can, you know, use your grape and your wine and your LPs as collateral to then borrow against. So that's creating some sort of use case for it, and also, you know, reducing the sell pressure. Obviously, you don't have to sell your rewards in order to at least gather some stables if you need, or some other, you know, say you want to sell to buy another coin or something. That's why the lending and borrowing is great, because you can just instead of having to sell, you just put it as in collateral, and you can borrow a certain amount and capture the upside on both of those, or also not have to pay capital gains tax as well.
I've heard a lot about NFTs, but I've never actually gone in and either created one or sold one or bought one. So for the novice NFT person, can you give me an idea how that works and how you actually make money from NFTs?
Yeah, well, NFTs are, in contract wise, they're essentially just a token, the same as any other token, but that token points to an image somewhere. The image can be stored on the blockchain, or it can be stored in IPFS or something like that. And it's essentially a unique token that you hold that can be used for various things. I mean, at the moment, the most popular thing is art for it, but there is other cool things that you can do with NFTs, like the ENS domains. So if I don't know if you've seen the .eth domains, they're actually NFTs that you can attach. You can even host a website on it. You can attach them to your wallet address so that you can send, instead of having to send to a actual large long wallet address, you can send it to a domain, which is stored as NFT. So NFTs give you.
I've got a graphic designer who's really good at graphic design and loves doing cartoony things, and I think, well, that would be great. I wouldn't mind getting him on board, but I'm wondering, how do I sell it? How do I find a marketplace? Let's say you create some amazing designs, and I go, great. How do I sell it? How do I make money from the NFT?
Well, I mean, you essentially create the NFT for the cost of the art. So whatever you sell the NFT for is profit, essentially. And you can sell the NFT on a marketplace like OpenSea, which is one of the biggest marketplaces for NFTs. It depends what chain you're going to launch them on, but if you're on ETH or Polygon, OpenSea is probably the best. Or you can make a minting website, and people can go to your minting website, and they give you they essentially pay to mint an NFT, or however much ETH or stables or whatever coin you want to accept, and they mint an NFT by sending in a payment, and that's about it. The NFT, there's actually a lot of good YouTube videos on setting up a whole minting site for NFTs and all that. It's not overly complex on the coding side. I think there's one contract for the NFT itself, and then there's a minting contract possibly, and that's about it. So it's not actually too complex, but the main thing that you're going to have to do is marketing, really.
Yeah. Okay. So is it something you can only do on certain networks? Like, can you do it on Phantom, which seems to be a really low cost?
You can do it on Phantom. You can do it on AVAX. pretty sure BSC has a marketplace as well. You can do it on any Ethereum based network. So that's Phantom, AVAX, BSC, Harmony. All those.
If you like, I can jump in and say a bit more about NFTs, and more like productive value of them. That's more coming out.
I'm going to introduce you a little bit, Eric. Because Eric has been in the chat, and he's actually that gamer kid. So he's also part of the team, and he's been listening in. And as NFTs are kind of his baby, he would love to join in a little bit. Eric, you're on.
Yeah, thank you very much. So a little bit about me. So my little background is actually a bit around NFTs basic trading. So with the integration for NFTs, there's actually a lot more value than just image, art, etc. There's actually integrating utility for them. So there's a few upcoming projects. One off the top of the head is Spartan. They're integrating a system where when you buy their NFTs, it's a system of investment where that will be invested to a bigger system. So it'll be a big fund altogether. So it gives a little guy a chance to invest into the bigger projects, thus paying out the dividends out to the people. So then the NFT can actually be used as a staking mechanism, then also can build a treasury. So that's something that can also be implemented possibly well down the line, etc. But then that's also opens possibilities for investments further and building a treasury.
Yeah, that's like a super good use case for NFTs in terms of giving you ownership. That's like a real thing for NFTs, is that it's like an ownership. You have ownership of NFTs, which then of the NFT, which then gives you rights to certain things, basically anything really that you can code into a contract. You can then have the right, if you hold that NFT, access to. So there's a lot of things. I mean, it's a new space, so obviously there's a lot of innovation coming out all over the place, new things happening all the time. So it's exciting.
Look, just one last thing. I've seen on another Tomb fork or something where they actually, when people buy the bonds, they're actually allowing them to stake them, because I've seen on a few of the Tomb forks where they've gone, people have started buying the bonds and then they've never got to peg, and then people just stopped buying them. So they just ended up at like, half a peg. And I'm just wondering whether that's something you might want to think about, for the future, to have that set up so that instead of people, as soon as it gets over peg, madly selling the bonds and getting, basically getting the grape, and then it all goes down again. Basically, put it on the bonds so that they can stake the bonds like they do a wine share.
There's one thing about that. I'm sorry, Abby. There's one thing about that. Firstly, we with the strategies we provide and that we will ask people to follow, actually say to not immediately start selling off your bonds again. We will explain that. I will also explain that in the educational videos. So on part of getting the community on board and getting the community educated on the dangers of immediately selling bonds, we're already moving towards that. And now there might be some extra things that LD can move on with.
Yeah, with the main thing is that we actually don't want to rely on the bonds directly, because they're kind of, it's not really the best mechanism for it. I mean,
I agree.
Yeah, it's we may look into the staking pool of the bonding to at least incentivize holding the bonds for a little bit longer. But I think there's other things we can do as well that create some demand for grape and wine.
Yeah.
And also not have to
rely on the grape. Yeah, if you can make grape demanded, whether you can somehow put that into a game or find a partner who will use grape all the time and they have to buy it. That is far better than anything else you can ever do.
Yeah, well, part on the roadmap is a game as well. It's more just for the community, but we'll add some use case. You'll have to pay to earn grape, pay to play with grape or something like that. And grape will be, that's the thing with everything that we do, there'll be some utility for grape and wine integrated into that new thing that we do. So
all right. I have to go. I have to drop my partner off, so I'll catch you later. Thank you very
thanks
much.
Thanks for joining in.
Yeah, awesome. And that actually concludes our video. or our AMA for today, because we've had a lot of questions and we've had a lot of extra questions. It stays the same thing. There's the AMA questions channel where everyone can just ask their questions, and for the next AMA, which is the coming Thursday, because we will be doing these weekly, we will then address the questions that are asked in between now and then. So I would love to thank everyone for attending and listening, and of course there will be a recording posted in the Discord, and everyone who wasn't able to attend will still be able to listen. Thanks everyone, and especially a thank you LB and Eric, and the people who asked some extra questions as well. We can't do it without all of you.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining in, asking your questions. Thanks Nikki, and thanks Eric for joining in on the AMA and sorting that out as well, and all the work you guys, all the mods in the chat, incredible work, and incredible work on the education, the promo stuff as well, and the promotions. Got so much coming on in the next few weeks, so it's an exciting time. So thanks for listening.
Awesome. Well, goodbye everyone.